Oh, okay. Okay.
Hello?
No, that,
Hello? Does it work?
it's okay. I mean, John will be
Hello?
here, and he
Hello?
offered to do
Hello?
that.
Oh, it works. Good. Woo. All right. Should we start? Yeah? Okay, good morning. Hello. Hi. Hi. Sorry I have to interrupt your conversations, but we're officially starting. So good morning and welcome to Communitas this not beautiful day, but this day. And I'm very happy to be back because we were away for a couple of weeks. And please feel free to get some snacks over there. I saw that there's muffins, so whoever brought them, thank you. Wonderful, thank you. They were really good. All right, I wanted to ask, show of hands, how many of you are familiar with the animated movie Inside Out? Ooh, okay, perfect. Okay. So, for the ones that have never heard about it, this is a story of a little girl called Riley and the different emotions that she feels inside, and also how important building her self-of-sense is. So, it doesn't really sound like a kid's movie, if you ask me, because I felt like it was more for young adults at least. But anyway, last night at home, since we didn't really have much to do in this weather, we watched Inside Out, the second movie on Disney. And spoiler alert for the ones who haven't seen it, but when Riley becomes a teenager, there's new emotions coming into the play, and they try to take over, so it gets a bit messy. And one of the new emotions is anxiety, and it's actually one of my favorite characters in the show. But in the movie, anxiety tries to take control of the dashboard of, Riley's inner self. And when it was this little moment where, she had full control and it just got very messy, I started having anxiety inside of me. And for that, I think I have to thank empathy from the Strength Finder test that I've taken. But, and of course, I'm very emotional, so I cried in a couple of scenes, in Inside Out too, and so on. And this was not the first time that I saw the movie. So I've cried for the, second time, basically. Anyway, so I feel like at least among young adults, anxiety is the soundtrack humming beneath our lives. And last night before going to bed, I read this verse from one of Paul's letters that says, "Do not be anxious about anything, and pray about everything." And inspired by the movie, when I first read it, I felt like this was written by somebody who has never had anxiety, or, Paul is being one of those guys that says, just don't worry, have you tried that? But then the second part of the verse also says, for us to fix our anxious reality in the fact that God gives us or promises this peace, which is a supernatural sort of peace that we can't really logically reason it. But that's what we get instead of this crippling anxiety that we tend to feel. And I think that the means of this exchange is prayer. And I've read somewhere this phrase or sentence that says, pray as you can, don't pray as you can't. And when I was thinking about it last night, I felt like that's very interesting, because very often, and I've been struggling a bit back and forth with prayer, like I have moments where it's great and it's so easy, and then there's days like yesterday in the morning that I just couldn't focus, like at all. I tried journaling, it just didn't work. So I was actually thinking that, if we can't pray with hope and faith, I think God is okay with that as long as we come before him. So, he's not necessarily bothered, or if you can't pray in praises of very high adoration, that's also okay with him. We don't really need to fake it just because we're used to that we have to start by praising God, or, like there's a structure of a prayer or something. And I just feel like, that we can just pray our anxiety, we can pray our anger, our complaints, however we feel. And I think that the most one of the most important parts that we can do when it comes to prayer is just show up and show up honestly, and keep showing up and trying to do that part. And then God, who knows our hearts, then He will lead us in prayer, and He will help us to pray how we should pray. And I think that this is an invitation that God makes to all of us, depending on where we are in the journey of our belief or unbelief. And of course, it's best if we start today. So, okay, with that in mind, I would like to invite today's band to lead us in worship. Thank you.
So I hope the guitar works, because I have to use this mic, but we'll see.
Okay.
Caught up in your presence, I just wanna sit here at your feet, caught up in this holy moment. I never wanna leave. Well, I'm not here for blessings, Jesus, you don't owe me anything more than anything that you can do. I just want you. I'm sorry when I just go through the motions. I'm sorry when I just sang another song. Take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. I'm sorry when I've come with my agenda. I'm sorry when I forgot that you're enough. Take me back to where we started. I open up my heart to you. Caught up in your presence, I just wanna sit here at your feet. I'm caught up in this holy moment. I never wanna leave. Oh, I'm not here for blessings, Jesus, you don't owe me anything more than anything that you can do. I just want you. I just want you. Nothing else, nothing else, nothing else will do. I just want you, and nothing else, nothing else, nothing else will do. I just want you, and nothing else, nothing else, nothing else will do. I just want you, and nothing
The next song, oh, sorry, we also sang last week. It's Make Room Again, because I really like the song and I thought, why not 2 times in a row? So we sing again, Make Room.
Where I lay down every burden, every crown. This is my surrender. This is my surrender. Here is where I lay down every lie and every doubt. This is my surrender. And I will make room for you. Whatever you want to do whatever you want to, and I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. Here is where I lay it down, every burden, every crown. This is my surrender. This is my surrender. Here is where I lay down every lie and every doubt. This is my surrender. And I will make room for you to do whatever you want to. Whatever you want to, and I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. The ground of all my tradition, break down the walls of all my religion. Your way is better, your way is better. Shake up the ground of all my tradition, break down the walls of all my religion. Your way is better, your way is better. Shake up the ground of all my religion, break down the walls of all my tradition. Your way is better, your way is better. Shake up the ground of all my religion, break down the walls of all my religion. Your way is better, your way is better. And I will make room for you. Whatever you want to do whatever you want to, I will make room for you to do whatever you want to do whatever you want to. Here is where I lay it down. You are all I'm chasing now. This is my surrender.
Amen.
Just maybe take a moment to close your eyes and bow your head if you want, and just before we go on, just take a moment to think about just any of the songs that we sang, or even what Radona said at the beginning. And if there's something that has struck your mind, just take a moment and maybe assume that God is planting a seed, something He wants you to think about. So just take 10 seconds to meditate on anything that might have struck your heart or mind in the last few minutes. So Lord, we're here for you today, and probably all of us came with our own agenda. I pray that we will lay down that agenda and let you do what you want to do in us or through us. I'm sure all of us come with different things in our hearts, some of us with anxious hearts. I pray that you will turn our eyes to you. I pray that we will turn our eyes to you and let you be the center of our attention now, and let you do what you want to do this morning. Amen. So thank you guys for the music. As always, both what Radona said at the beginning, she had no idea what the sermon was about, I think, and the songs just all very much fit into a package this morning, and we can assume that maybe God had something to do with that. All right, so keep these words in mind. But a couple things. First, Sunday school. Okay, we do have Sunday school, don't we? Yeah. All right. So kids, if you want to gather back there, I won't make you. Oh, I guess Radona is leading. Okay. Oh, okay. You guys are leading. Oh, great. So yeah, just gather at the door, and we can pray for you guys. And yeah, Pedro, could you pray for the Sunday school kids, please?
Dear God, we pray for your holy name, in the name of Jesus, that the Holy Spirit can be with your kids, that your hands, your almighty hands, can protect their hearts, their minds, and fill their hearts with joy, and with all that you can only give to us. I pray that everybody that is working with them can be inspired and touched by your love, by your kindness, by your salvation, Jesus. And I really pray that they can feel this morning something special, and that the light that you send in our hearts can shine in their lives, and wherever they go. That's how I pray in Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you. I'm glad Pedro is still a young man. Otherwise, I might have given you a heart attack. I think I shocked you a little bit. Anyway, thanks for being here as always. Make yourself at home. Get tea or coffee at any time you want. There's apples as always. There's still some other food over there. So take advantage of that. It won't disturb me if you need to move around a little bit. Deb, did you want to say anything more about? Okay, so, all right. I don't think there's any other announcements. Well, I did want to say, with the change of the weather and the cold weather, you might come with more sniffles and that kind of thing. That's okay. That's completely normal. We do have hand sanitizer back there. That's left over from COVID days, but it's there. I assume it's still good. I don't know. You medical students or, chemically inclined brains can tell me if it's no good anymore. But anyway, feel free to protect yourself if you want to wear a mask or whatever. That's okay. Just feel free, whatever you need to do to make yourself comfortable. All right, but today we're back to the Gospel of Mark. We're looking at another kind of trio of incidences in Mark 5 and then the first little bit of chapter 6. And I want to start with the little bit in chapter 6 and what happens there. So it's Mark 6, verses 1 to 6. Jesus went out from there, where he was, as we'll see in a moment. He went to his hometown, Nazareth, and his disciples followed him. And his disciples are with him now the whole time, and they're learning, they're observing, and pretty soon he's going to send them out on their own mission. But right now, hopefully they're paying attention to Jesus and learning something. So they are there looking on. And he began to teach in the synagogue. And many of the listeners were astonished, saying, "Where did this guy get these things? And what is this wisdom given to him and the miracles he's performed by his hand? Isn't this the carpenter? We know this guy. He's the son of Mary. We know his brothers, James and Joseph and Judas and Simon, and his sisters are." Jesus came from a big family. So he had 4 brothers and at least 2 sisters. So, Mary had at least 7 kids to take care of. That was probably not an easy job for Mary. But in any case, everyone knows Jesus and his family in Nazareth. And Jesus says to them, a prophet is not without honor, except in his hometown and among his own relatives and in his own household. And he could not do any miracle there, except that he laid his hands on a few sick people and healed them, and he wondered at their unbelief. So it says he could do no miracle there, except a few little healing of sick people. This is his hometown. He's done a lot of miracles. A lot of people has been healed, but now he's here in Nazareth, and the unbelief of the people are just preventing them from coming to Jesus. And no doubt Nazareth had as many needs as any of the other villages around Galilee. As many sick people, as many hurting people, as many broken people in Nazareth as any other city. It was not an outstanding, a particularly healthy city, I'm sure. They had as many needs as any other city, but they're not getting their needs met because they're not coming to Jesus with belief. And so this unbelief is a big issue here in Nazareth. And why? What is the problem here? And Mark gives us the hints, and Jesus says it's because, well, they think they know Jesus. He's the carpenter. They can go to their house and say, yeah, Jesus fixed my roof. He can't be the Messiah. He built my table. Messiahs don't build tables. That's not what, that's carpenters build tables. Messiahs do other things. It's like, Jesus put together my IKEA, or IKEA, whatever, however you pronounce it correctly. He put together my furniture. He can't be anything special. And of course, for many of us, when we're putting together furniture, if you saw me putting together furniture, and I've had to put a lot of furniture together, you wouldn't think I'm a functional adult, let alone a pastor. Putting those kind of things together bring out emotions and language that it might not be the norm, and so if I tend to want to put things together when no one else is in the house, like everyone, don't help me, just let me, and you can, sometimes you hear in another room someone yelling something, and I think, oh, I bet they're putting furniture together. But someone doing that, you don't think of as being the master of the universe. You can't make that connection. This guy is not a special guy. Who does he think he is? They recognize that he's got some kind of power, but they're not going to come to him. And so it says he was astonished at their unbelief, or he was amazed, or he was marveled. Jesus was in some ways surprised and amazed and had this strong reaction to the unbelief of these people in his hometown, these people that he knew by name. He surely knew that village completely. He'd probably been in most of their homes. And he's amazed at their lack of belief. So what was their unbelief in this case? What constituted the unbelief of the people in Nazareth? And their unbelief was not so much about his ability to teach or heal. They knew he could heal, okay? And they knew he was an authoritative teacher. They believed that. They knew that. They knew he was a miracle worker. Their lack of belief wasn't in his ability to do these things. I think their lack of belief was their refusal to let their lives be shaped by him. They could believe that he could do something. They would not trust him with their lives. They wouldn't trust him. This is going to be an important point as we come to the end of the sermon in a few moments. But this is connected to what I've kind of been emphasizing about the core of the gospel is that Jesus is Lord. And the core of unbelief is to not let Jesus be Lord. Okay, and so they're not going to let this carpenter that they knew as a snotty little kid in their village, they're not going to shape their lives by him. You know, the guy who put the furniture together, they'll let him be their carpenter. They're not going to let him be their Lord. And that's what their unbelief was. And so they're not going to continue this connection with Jesus and come to him because they didn't want to actually let their entire lives be affected by him. But this story is preceded by two other stories that very much emphasize the importance of faith. And these three stories are all about what faith is, or what belief is, or what trust is, and they're going to help us to figure out what it means to have faith in Jesus. So let's back up to chapter 5, verse 21. When Jesus crossed over again, and last week we saw the previous stories, he was on the other side of the Sea of Galilee, the demon-possessed man and so forth. Now he goes back probably to Capernaum on the northwest coast of the Sea of Galilee. And he's crossed over in the boat, and a large crowd is gathered again. There's always now crowds around Jesus. Okay, and so he just kind of stayed by the seashore because it's like he got off the boat and there's the crowds, and so he's just already now interacting with these crowds. He hasn't even had a chance to go in to the village, let alone into, his home there. And it says, one of the synagogue officials named Jairus came up and seeing him fell at his feet and implored him earnestly, saying, my little daughter's at the point of death. Please come and lay your hands on her so that she will get well and live. And so he went off with him, and the whole crowd was following and pressing. So this guy Jairus, that's his name, the synagogue ruler, he's not a rabbi, but he's one of the distinguished members of the synagogue. Probably he's got some position of authority dealing with finances in the building and that kind of thing. So he's important in the synagogue, not the religious teacher, but he's like, people who fill other important roles in a church or a synagogue. So he's significant. He's one of the significant persons living in Capernaum. And so he comes and then he falls at his feet, and that takes a great bit of humility for him. I mean, Jesus' relationship with kind of the religious authorities is a bit dodgy. Okay, and so this guy to come to Jesus, I mean, I think we have a sense of his desperation. His daughter's at the point of death, and he doesn't care about his reputation now. Suddenly, none of that is important. He wants to find anyone who can help him, and he maybe knows there's not anyone else who can help him but Jesus. And he comes to Jesus, and he falls at his feet. Just, you can interact for a couple minutes. I'm going to do a couple interactive things today that I never do. So anyway, what do you think this guy was feeling? What are the feelings involved with this guy? What are all of his emotions and maybe his wife's emotions and thoughts at this point? What? Helpless? Desperate is a very good word. What? Tired? Okay. Probably staying up. They've probably been staying up with their daughter for days. Definitely humble, to come to Jesus. Weak. Anxious. I think part of that anxiety is we really got to hurry. She's at the point of death. Okay, we got to get moving here. If people had watches, he would be looking at his watch, and he'd be maybe, he's at Jesus' feet, but he might be like, let's go. I use the phrase, walk and talk. Let's walk and talk. Let's get moving. I mean, he's desperate, and he feels like time is limited. And so Jesus sets off. And then the next story, and these two stories are woven together. They very much go together in all the synoptic gospels. These go together. It's kind of really good storytelling. But it leads us to another incident that comes up on the way. It says, a woman who had a hemorrhage for 12 years and endured much at the hands of many physicians. She had spent all that she had and wasn't helped at all, but had rather grown worse. In the Gospel of Luke doesn't tell us that she had wasted all her money with doctors, because some people assume that Luke was a doctor and he didn't want doctors to look bad. So Luke kind of suppresses the fact that, she had wasted her money with doctors. But that's what we're told here. She had spent all her money trying to get help, and it had actually grown worse. And hearing about Jesus, she came up in the crowd behind him and touched his cloak. First she thought, if I can just touch his garment, I'll get well. And immediately the flow of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of her affliction. And immediately Jesus perceived that something had happened. The power inherent in him had gone forth, and he turns around and he says, who touched me? Because there's a big crowd pressing around. It's like when you're on a crowded trolley bus or something. People, Americans like me, who like lots of personal space. Public transportation is uncomfortable, but they're pressing around Jesus, and he's like, who touched me? And the disciples are kind of like, what do you, really? I mean, how can you ask who touched you? Everyone's touching you, Jesus, wait, open your eyes. But Jesus looked around to see the woman who had done this, and the woman, fearing and trembling, aware of what had happened, she also fell at his feet and told him the truth. And he said to her, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace. Be healed of your affliction. So this woman had this blood problem for 12 years, probably gynecological. We don't know that, but probably she's had this continual bleeding for 12 years. And once again with her, you can imagine her distress is multidimensional. First, there's the physical distress. I mean, how much real pain was constant? Certainly discomfort for 12 years. 12 years of living with physical discomfort. And financial distress. I mean, she might have started off as a fairly wealthy person. I mean, if she had money to keep paying for doctors, she might have started off with some extra income, but it's all gone now. She's a poor woman now. She spent all her money trying to get help, and it's only made her worse. And religious social distress, and in society back then, these two very much went together. Because of this blood issue, she is officially unclean. She can't go into the temple, even where the women could be. She's religiously unclean. It automatically kind of separates her from trying to have a relationship with God. But that makes her socially unclean, because if she's in contact with other people, they also become unclean. And so she's generally avoided people, and no doubt people have avoided her. So her whole social life is gone. Even if she's going to meet with someone, it's got to be at a distance. It's not maybe as fun to have a coffee meeting with someone and you're over here and they're over there. But this has been her reality for 12 years. 12 years. This religious and social distress. Little real human connection. I mean, probably no one has hugged her in 12 years, or even touched her. Can you imagine? And so, of course, psychological distress, at least the shame that she's been living with for 12 years. This, by the way, is the length of life for Jairus' daughter. The daughter is 12 years. The daughter's been alive 12 years and now is at the point of death. This woman has been internally dead for 12 years. But she believes that Jesus can make a difference, and she's trying to make it simple for Jesus. And maybe I can just touch him and no one will know. I can remain hidden. Jesus doesn't let her remain hidden. He wants to have this conversation. Jesus is not too concerned about uncleanness. Not too concerned about that. So he says, daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be free from your affliction. And affliction probably mainly means her physical affliction, but maybe all that distress, be free of it and be at peace. And in that kind of context, this is going to be kind of a holistic sort of peace. And what he is giving her is healing and wholeness. Not just fixing the bleeding problem, restoring her to being a whole person, a normal person like everyone else in society. She can return to that. Just quickly, as we think about healing and wholeness, just kind of a practical application as we think about what difference we can make in the world and the ways in which we can be kind of a little Jesus to people. You know, we're not Jesus, and we can't heal people the way he can. We can't restore, holistic health, to people. But we can contribute to people's wholeness. I don't know if any one of you is a gifted healer. I'm not a healer. I've never put my hands on someone and God has healed them. I can't make them whole that way. That's not a gift that I have, and maybe you don't have that gift, but you can bring them wholeness in other ways. Again, maybe just putting your hand on their shoulder can restore people to a little bit of wholeness. You might not see yourself as an evangelist. You might struggle how to explain the gospel. Okay, and that's okay. Maybe that's not your particular gift. I mean, we all should talk about Jesus, but we don't maybe need to worry about trying to convince people about our message. We can just talk about Jesus and help people with wholeness in some way. This woman has financial distress, and some people, God is blessed with money, and that's one way they can help them in their financial needs. Okay, but you might not have extra money to help someone financially. That's okay. It's okay. You can find other ways to restore people to wholeness in all the different dimensions of people's distress. You might be able to find some way to help them toward wholeness. And so this is what Jesus does. The problem with this little scene, of course, is that this delay is tragic. And you can imagine Jairus standing there. And here's this unclean woman. And he might be thinking, really? Really? I mean, she's now distracting me. My daughter is going to die. We've got to move. We've got to move. You can imagine his heart just sinking. And as a matter of fact, while he's still speaking, they came from the house of the synagogue official and they said, your daughter's died. You don't need to trouble the teacher anymore. Nothing more to be done. The delay, in fact, was deadly. But Jesus, overhearing what was being spoken, said to the synagogue official, don't be afraid. Stop being afraid. Just believe. Just trust. Jesus allowed no one to accompany him except Peter and James and John, just three of the disciples, and then, of course, Jairus, the parents were there, and they came to Jairus' house. And he saw the commotion and people loudly weeping and wailing. And back then, you were obligated to hire professional mourners. Even if you were poor, you had to pay money for a couple of professional mourners, and they would come, and it was kind of a service to help people to express their emotions when death came. Okay, there's probably a larger crowd. Jairus was no doubt a wealthier person, and there were maybe more professional mourners who had done this. They knew what death looked like, and they're making a big commotion because the daughter has died. And Jesus sees this people weeping and wailing, and he says to them, why are you making this commotion and weeping? The child has not died, but is asleep. The girl is dead. Okay? She is clinically dead. All right? But of course, Jesus, he knows more. He knows more. But a lot of the texts say they laughed at him. It's a strong word. They were beginning to mock Jesus because they're like, what? Once again, what does this carpenter know about death? You know, we're professionals at what we do. We know the girl is dead. What are you talking about? She's asleep. So they're basically mocking Jesus for saying she's just asleep. Well, Jesus was not so patient with them. He just kicks them out. You guys just get out of here. I don't blame Jesus too much. And he just took along the father and mother and those 3 disciples. They entered the room where the child was, and he takes the child by the hand. Once again, because she's dead, he's becoming unclean. Okay, to be in contact with a dead body makes you unclean for a week or something like that. So Jesus is not concerned about that. He's not concerned about what the system calls clean or unclean. He takes her by the hand and says to her these Aramaic words, Talitha kum, which is little girl, I say to you, get up. And immediately she gets up and she begins to walk. She's 12 years old, and they were astonished. He gave strict orders that no one should know about this, and also to give her something to eat, which again is evidence that she is truly alive. And of course, Jesus recognizes, you know, a 12-year-old child is often hungry, you know, especially if she's been having a fever and sickness for days and, you know, had a few moments of being dead. Give her something to eat. Jesus is aware. But when the news came, you can imagine Jairus' heart just sinking. I imagine if we could see that scene, we would be very emotional, like, you know, Radona was crying, you know, twice at that scene. I mean, we would have that same experience seeing Jairus. His whole body sinking, his head sinking. And I don't know if Jesus hugged him, but if I were to picture this, I would picture Jesus just quickly putting his hand on him. Just saying, don't be afraid. Okay, just trust. Don't be afraid. Just trust. That's what holds these stories together. It's the importance and the place of trust or belief. And the lack of trust in Nazareth was shocking to Jesus. He was amazed that it would be that way. But equally, I don't know if he's surprised at the faith of these other two people. The woman with the issue of blood, she seemed to have faith. She just thought, if I can just touch him, you know, I'll be healed. She has some faith. What Jairus was thinking, especially when he heard his daughter was dead, is I don't know how much faith he had. He had enough. He had enough. Just enough. But that raises the question of, you know, what is faith or belief or trust? And so kind of a secondary point I want us to think about a little bit is, what is faith or belief or trust? And I use those different words because all of them can be used to translate like the Greek term that is used. And some of those words, just because of overuse, might lose some of their meaning. You know, so we might often say, you know, believe in Jesus or believe. Okay, you can believe a lot of things. I mean, I believe that the earth is round. Okay, I don't know if we have any flat earthers here, but I believe quite strongly that the earth is round. Okay, and I can use the word belief for that fact, and we can use the word belief for certain pieces of information. We can believe that something is true, or we can believe that someone will do something. Okay, and then the word faith often just gets used in religious context, and once again, what does that mean? Is that the same as belief? What do we put faith in? And I I kind of like the word trust. But what I want us to think about is this. The potential problem of words like faith or belief is that we can trust in a result more than trusting Jesus. And if that distinction isn't clear to you, think about these two questions. Is Jesus a trustworthy person? Or will I get what I want from Jesus? And I'm going to do something that Arturs does and Deb and Aaron when they lead. I'm going to put you into little buzz groups for a couple minutes, 2 or 3 people. I'm a nice guy, so I generally never do that for you introverts out there, because I know you introverts hate this like I do. I'm always scared with those guys or Arturs up front, because like, oh no, I've got to talk to someone. But anyway, I would like you to spend about 2 or 3 minutes in groups of 2 or 3 and just talk to one another about the difference between those two questions. And if it's not significant to you, you can say, I don't know what Mark's on about. I don't think it's a big deal. You're welcome to that opinion. Okay, but just discuss together for a couple minutes the difference between those two questions, all right, and how that relates to what faith is. All right, go. Okay, thank you. That was more discussion than I thought there might be. Some of you are still going on and on, the usual extroverted people, which is fine as well. But thank you for indulging in that buzz group. I promise not to do that too often, but I have a feeling there's other people here who are going to make you do that. One of the things I want to say about that is I think the distinction between those two questions is important, but there's nothing wrong with the second question, okay? We can and should ask for things, okay? We can pray to God and ask for things and have faith that. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not a sin to ask for things from Jesus or to hope Jesus will give you things, okay? I'm not saying that at all, okay? So that second question has a legitimate place, okay? But the more important question is the first one. And the question of these stories and the question of faith in the Bible is mainly about Jesus, and is he a trustworthy person? The other thing, by the way, I'd encourage you, if, you know, the live stream will eventually be on our YouTube channel, and so you can always go back and listen to the whole sermon. I'm not saying you need to do that, but I'd encourage you to go back and listen to the first song that we sang, because that first song was all about that. Now, when I made that slide, I had no idea what that, I don't even know if I knew about that first song. Okay, but that first song was all about that. Okay, and it might be worthwhile to go back to that song and look at the words again. All right, so this is important as we think about, you know, what it is that we come to Jesus for and what faith is, that we think in terms of especially trusting Jesus and who he is, whether or not we'll always get what we want. Because if it becomes too much about what we want, when we don't get everything that we want, then we become disappointed in Jesus instead of trusting him. So that's kind of a minor point I wanted to make this morning. But I want to finish just thinking again about, you know, how we need the message of this story and how we need the message that Jesus gave to Jairus. Okay, I don't know why that slide is coming up. But I mainly wanted these words to be drilled into our mind and our heart. Don't be afraid. Just trust. Just trust. Don't be afraid. Don't be anxious. It's interesting, the timing of this sermon. This week we're going to America. My wife and I were going to be there a month, and for multiple reasons I have absolutely zero desire to go to America, especially right now. Okay, I'm already a high anxiety person, and I've got a lot of anxiety about this. And so this is a message that I need, you know, that imagine I'm going to have a problem applying this, you know. In the next month, if you occasionally think of it, feel free to just write me a text and just say, don't be afraid, Mark, don't be afraid. Seriously. We need to hear this voice. We need to constantly remind ourselves of the voice of Jesus. Don't be afraid. And it's not the same as just, you know, I mean, like Cardona said, you know, when Paul said, be anxious for nothing, it's like, yeah, good for you, Paul. But you know, people like me who do struggle with anxiety, it doesn't, you know, people saying, yeah, it's be okay. It doesn't help much. I mean, when I was doing my PhD thesis, people said, oh, what do you mean? What are you worried about? It's going to be fine. A lot of people, it's going to be fine. It's like, thank you. I appreciate your encouragement. It did me zero emotional good. I appreciate it, but thank you. And even my supervisor was like, I don't think you need to worry, Mark. Well, you know, sorry, I'm worried. Okay. So think about where we are. What is your distress? You might not look like either of these people outwardly, but probably most of you. Maybe right now, if not right this instant. At least throughout this last week and throughout this next week, inwardly you're going to look like this. This is how you're going to feel. And so what is it right now that you are feeling? What discouragement, what distress, what hopelessness, maybe what weakness do you feel right now? Physical, financial, social, psychological? And so the question is, what voice are we listening to? In the midst of those feelings, what are you listening to? What do you hear? What are you allowing to fill your mind? Where does your mind go? You know, when I wake up in the middle of the night, and it's literally dark, and the darkness closes in your mind. It's like, oh man, I think about everything that's coming up in the day, and I can tell myself, it's a normal day, nothing is happening this next day. There's nothing tragic happening, nothing too hard. And still, it's just dark. What is it? What is it that, that's shrinking your insides, is causing your distress? And what are you listening to? And is it the right voice? And how can you counter that voice? What voice is it that we need to hear? And so we need to hear, don't be afraid, trust me. And we need to hear it from Jesus. We need to be spending time with his voice. If we're not spending any time hearing him, don't be afraid, no one else's don't be afraid is going to have much meaning. It might help you for 5 minutes, but the darkness is going to close in. The first sermon in the Gospel of Mark, we looked at the parable about the seeds and the seeds that didn't come to fruit and the seeds that did. And the whole point of that story was kind of, don't just hear, but listen. Listen. Listen to the voice of Jesus. Don't just hear my voice. My don't be afraid isn't going to mean much. It's a little bit hypocritical for me to say, don't be anxious. We have to hear Jesus' voice. We've got to spend time with him. His voice, we've got to hear him say, don't be afraid. It's a message all through the Bible, actually. Constantly God is trying to tell people, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Trust me. It doesn't necessarily mean everything's going to line up smoothly. We might not get everything that we want. That's why we have to trust him and hold on to him and let him be enough. Let his presence be enough. So hear his voice, wherever it is that you're feeling. And a few of you, I know some of the things you're dealing with, but most of you, I don't know what's going on inside or even externally. But wherever you need to hear, don't be afraid. Hear it from Jesus. Hear Jesus say, don't be afraid. Trust me. Is he a trustworthy person? Is he a trustworthy person? Thank you, Father, that you sent your Son to experience life as we experience it. To walk the streets of Nazareth as a little boy, to be tired and maybe lonely and hungry and bullied. Put people's furniture together. Thank you that you sent him to share our experience. Thank you that your Son is altogether worthy and trustworthy. May we hear his voice. May we be disciplined and practice listening to the voice of Jesus. Don't be afraid. Speak to us, Lord, in our hearts and our minds. May we hear your voice above all voices. May we trust you and desire you above all desires. Amen. We'll sing another couple songs.
Thank you very much, Mark. Great sermon, really great. Sorry. The next song is also a new song, and I picked it before even knowing the topic of today's sermon, but I think it fits perfectly, because the first verse, I live by faith and not by sight. And so it's just a great lyric. And the song is a little bit more energetic, I would say. So I need a little bit of your power, because this really goes, in Germany we call it goes steil. It means like it has really much power. And so there's like clapping to it. So we're gonna try it. So we're starting by like an oh 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 oh, and then to there's like oh 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 oh. That's like the first one. So you're gonna get into it. It's like really easy. And then like after each line of the verse, there's also like a clap. Okay, you will get this. This is great. I love this song. Okay, we just try it and you just follow. Okay. Oh 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 oh. I walk with you through the day and night. I'm not afraid, no need to hide. I'll do this life, you're by my side. And I will go, 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 wherever you lead me, wherever you want me. Your ways are higher than mine, and I will go, 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 wherever you lead me, wherever you want me. Your ways are higher, higher than mine. Oh, 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 you are my light, show me the way. I live on every word you say. It's not a secret that I say. It's you forever on my day. And I will go, 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 wherever you lead me, wherever you want me. Your ways are higher than mine, and I will go, 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 wherever you lead me, wherever you want me. Your ways are higher, higher than mine. I turn to you and see the light. My heart gets stronger every time. I fix my eyes on you alone. I know you'll never let me go, 'cause you are with me. You are with me. You are with me. You are with me. And I will go, 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 wherever you lead me, wherever you want me. Your ways are higher than mine, and I will go, 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 wherever you lead me, wherever you want me. Your ways are higher, higher than mine. Oh, 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 thank you. Great. Great. I really love this song. It has much energy. So, but we're eased a little bit out with the last song. It's not that much energy, so we're all like relaxed and chill. So like the last song's a little bit slower and more sentimental, but yeah, it's also great.
Hands that created the heavens, find me now where the grace from as deep as your scars. You pull me from the clay, you set me on a rod, you call me by your name, made my heart whole again. Lift me up, and my knees know it's all for your glory, that I might stand with more reasons to sing and to fear. You pull me from the clay, set me on a rock, call me by your name, made my heart whole again. Here I stand high and surrender, I need you now. Hold my heart now and forever, my soul cries out. Once I was broken, you loved my whole heart through. Sin has no hold on me, 'cause your grace holds me now. And that grace owns the ground where the grave did. All my shame remains left for dead in your way. You crashed those angel gates, you left no stone unturned. You stepped out of that grave, shouldered me all the way. Here I stand high and surrender, I need you now. Hold my heart now and forever, my soul cries out. Once I was broken, you loved my whole heart through. Sin has no hold on me, 'cause your grace holds me now. Healed and forgiven, look where my chains are now. Death has no hold on me, 'cause your grace holds that ground. And your grace holds me now. Your grace holds me now. And your grace holds me now. And your grace holds me now. Here I stand high and surrender, I need you now. Hold my heart now and forever, my soul cries out. Once I was broken, you loved my whole heart through. Sin has no hold on me, 'cause your grace holds me now. And your grace holds me now. And your grace holds me now.
Thank you very much for praising the Lord with us. think Mark has a word.
Thank you. All right. Don't be afraid this week, all right? Don't be afraid. Have a great week. Thanks for being here today. All right, enjoy one another's company and, speak words of wholeness to one another in the next few minutes, all right?
Great.
Sollte halt dann besser